being here. My name is Megan Lafayette. I am a senior here at Mulenberg, and for the last 2 months, I've been working tirelessly on the Pennsylvania Democratic Coordinated Campaign. As a fellow student and member of this community, I'd like to take a moment to share with you why it is that I care so much and have been working so hard to make sure that we elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States. This election is important because it is a statement of who we are as a people, what we value, and what kind of world we want to live in. And in my opinion, there is only one candidate who is working towards a future that I want to be a part of. And so I am proud to support the ticket that understands that we cannot have a great society when we send our college graduates, the leaders of our future, out into the world weighed down by thousands of dollars of student loans. I am proud to support the ticket that understands that climate change is the crisis of my generation, and that we have a collective responsibility to protect the environment and our natural resources. I am proud to support the ticket that understands that human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights. And I am proud to support the ticket that understands that the best way to create a better tomorrow is to invest in it today, from access to quality education, regardless of your zip code, to jobs that pay well and an economy that works for everyone. Because as Hillary Clinton says, nobody who works hard should live in poverty in the United States of America. These things are important to me. They are important to us as a community and as a country. Senator Tim Kaine understands this. He understands this because he cares deeply for our country, and this is his vision for our future. We are so very lucky to have Senator Tim Kaine here with us today, so please join me in giving the warmest of welcomes to the next Vice President of the United States, Senator Tim Kaine.
Hey, Mulenberg, how are you guys? Take that as very good. Very good. What a great bunch of energy. I am so excited to be here. In fact, it was funny, I just came from an event down at Bucks County Community College, and somebody in the front row was wearing a Mulenberg Mules sweatshirt and said, "You're going here next." So you had like an advance party down there for me. But I'm really happy to be here and just have a chance to visit a little bit about this important race. This is my 7th trip to Pennsylvania since I was added to the ticket. Do you guys know you're important? I mean, Pennsylvania is the keystone state for a reason. You're key to the election. I'm going to get to a punchline. There are 50 states. You start into a presidential election, and soon some states are clearly going to go one way or go the other. So a race starts to focus on about 12 or 13 battleground states. And then within the 12 or 13 battleground states, there's usually 4 or 5 checkmate states. You guys are a checkmate state. If we win Pennsylvania, we will win the presidency for Hillary Clinton. And so that is a great thing, and it's also a responsibility. When you're a checkmate state, the weight of it is on your shoulders. And I've been telling people at other rallies, if you don't like to stay up to Mountain Time or Pacific Time, you don't have to. You can win this race in Eastern Time in Pennsylvania and be confident that Hillary Clinton will be the next president of the United States. And I'm so glad to be here with you at Mulenberg. I had a chance to meet your president, John Williams. Give him a round of applause. President Williams. And met some other wonderful guests. Candida Affa, who's on the Allentown City Council. Basilio Bonilla, who gave the Pledge of Allegiance earlier, also on the council. Maria Ocasio, who is an organizer with the Victory Coordinating Campaign. Raise your hand if you are volunteering, doing any kind of volunteering with the campaign. Give them a round of applause. If you have not yet volunteered and you want to, all you got to do is text TOGETHER to 47246, and you will get included in this great family over the last 13 days as we try to make history. We have Will Fisher, who's the Executive Director of the Union Veterans Council. Joe Torcella, you heard from him, he's running for State Treasurer of Pennsylvania. Mike Schlossberg, who's the state rep from right here near you. Mike Schlossberg, that's a good shout out for Mike. And then I'm really happy to be traveling with a great friend from the Senate, your senior Senator Bob Casey, who is just such a great public servant. Bob and I work very closely together. I'm a huge friend. And while we're speaking about Bob Casey, how about sending Katie McGinty to join him in the United States Senate? Katie will be a great partner with Hillary Clinton, with Bob Casey for things that are important to Pennsylvania. I'll talk about some of the issues that we're focusing on here in the last 13 days, but Katie will be a superb partner. Her opponent, Pat Toomey, I know, I said something nice about him in a paper a couple years ago, and he's running it in an ad right now. I think I said he was a decent guy. I was speaking sincerely, but it's more than just decency. It's also about policy and values. You know, will you stand up and work with the President Clinton, or are you going to try to oppose her on everything? We've seen what happens when Republican majorities just want to set themselves in opposition to our president, President Obama, and I just think the country's going to be better off if we can have a Senate that will work hand in hand with Hillary Clinton to advance this nation. So do all you can. Do all you can for Hillary. You know, I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about the debates and how well Hillary did, 3 for 3. But not only did she do well, but there's some interesting moments from the debates I just want to hold up to you. Talk about what's at stake, some key issues where there's differences between the Hillary Clinton position and the Donald Trump position. And then I'm going to close with just how do we win this thing with 13 days to go. That's the important one right now. We're traveling all over the country. You can hear I don't have much of a voice. And I've only been on the ticket for 85 days. Hillary's been doing this for 2 years. You shouldn't question her on the stamina side. I mean, she is something else. But yeah, let's talk about the debates. In fact, that's really the first debate moment I like. I'm going to tell you 2 Hillary moments I liked, and then I'm going to tell you 3 Donald Trump moments just from the last debate that I thought were pretty darn unusual. On the Hillary moments, one was in the first debate. It was an hour and 10 minutes in, and the moderator, Lester Holt, challenged Donald Trump. You said about Secretary Clinton, and I think the comment he challenged him on was, you said she doesn't look very presidential, does she, fellas? What did you mean by that? Were you criticizing her looks or her gender? And Donald Trump said, oh no, I was commenting about her stamina. Now, if you remember that debate, it was a split screen, so they're both up there. He said, I'm commenting on her stamina. And Hillary goes, you go to 120 countries, you testify before Congress for 11 hours, then you come talk to me about stamina. It was a fantastic answer. Fantastic answer. If the moderator had said, hey, why don't we just extend this debate another 5 or 6 hours? Hillary would have said, you're on. Refill my water glass. We're going for another 5 or 6 hours. But it was funny when she was saying that, Donald on the other side of the split was kind of like, where's the lamppost I can lean up to? In most of the debates, he seemed to come out strong for about 20 minutes. Then it was like, what, I have another hour of this I have to do? Hillary really showed the stamina and the backbone, as well as the character and the preparation and the intellect and the poise and the grace on the debate stage that really tells you who she'd be as president. My second moment for Hillary was in the last debate, the last question. They're just counting down, and Chris Wallace is right at the end. He goes, we just have 2 minutes. Each of you take a minute and just give me your closing argument. Why should you do this? Hillary went right back to where she started. I spent 40 plus years battling for families and children, and that's what I want to do as president. You know, Hillary will make history as the first woman president. She'll make history in another way. We've never had a president who has spent their entire career focusing upon the needs of families and kids. We've not had that person. Hillary was a young person in a Methodist youth group in the suburbs of Chicago, got influenced by a great pastor, Don Jones, who was the head of that youth group, exposed her to challenges in the world beyond those that she knew. And she just decided, if you can see how families and children are doing, that's the barometer to how the whole society is doing. And if you can help families and children do better, then the whole society is going to do better. That is who Hillary Clinton is. You know, if you want to know about the character of somebody in public life, the way to know is look and see, do they have a passion for something other than themselves? Now, Donald Trump has a passion, right? But it's got to be for something other than yourself. Did that show up before you were in politics, and then did you hold on to it all the way through politics, winning or losing, in office or out? And that is who Hillary Clinton is. And so she did a great job in the debate, just sort of laying that out. At the end of 3 debates, the last thing you're going to hear from me is, I've had this passion, and this is what I'm going to be going to bed thinking about, this is what I'm going to be getting up thinking about. And that makes me feel really, really proud, really, really proud to be her running mate. Donald Trump had a couple of interesting moments in the last debate. One, pretty early, was he said, no one respects women more than me. And then within about 2 minutes, he said, that nasty woman to Hillary Clinton. And that's kind of created quite a social media thing about nasty women everywhere, embracing the label. I guess if Donald Trump is calling you that, you can't be all bad, right? But that clear contrast, and we can kind of joke about it, but a lot of what Donald Trump has said and what he's described that he does and the value that he reveals about himself with respect to women, I don't really think he looks at women completely as equals, and I think that's been demonstrated throughout the campaign. Second thing he said in the debate when pressed, will you accept the results of this election? No, I want to keep everybody in suspense. Hey, it's not a TV show like next week on Hawaii Five-0. No, that's not. We don't keep each other in suspense. This is really, really important. When I was a youngster, I took a year off of law school and went to work with Jesuit missionaries in Honduras. And I met the heroes of my life there. These Jesuit missionaries I worked with, and I would say some of the heroes of my life were my students and their families. Tough place, but people had these great values of fe y familia y trabajo. Hay un gran grupo de latinos aquí en Allentown, ¿verdad? Faith, family, and work. But it was a military dictatorship. Nobody could vote for anything. I had come from the United States. I was used to elections and respecting the results of elections and then peaceful transfer of power. That's what I took for granted. I thought that's the way everybody lived. No. A lot of people don't live that way. There's a lot of nations around the world where they pray for a system like ours, where there will be elections that will be respected and a peaceful transfer of power. So when Donald Trump sort of suggests, no, we can't count on it to be fair, I mean, what's he saying? He doesn't trust Pennsylvanians? We started the nation in the cradle of liberty. Pennsylvanians don't know how to run an election. The United States doesn't know how to run an election. I mean, you want to be head of this nation, but you think so poorly of the nation that you say this country cannot run a fair election? I heard it this way. Donald Trump has run an insult-driven campaign. In his opening speech, he said Mexican immigrants are rapists and criminals. He's attacked women. He's attacked Muslims. He's attacked President Obama, wasn't born in the United States, isn't a U.S. citizen. He's attacked disabled reporter and mocked them. He attacked John McCain. You can't be a hero because you're a POW. I like the ones that weren't captured. He says the American military is a disaster. He went after a Virginia family, the Kaine family from Charlottesville, Gold Star family, lost their son serving others in Iraq, and then they questioned Donald Trump's anti-Muslim sentiment, say, what do you mean a Muslim can't be patriotic? Look at our son. And Donald Trump attacked them. He has attacked virtually every group there is in this society, and he got to the last debate, and there was no one left to attack. So why not attack the central pillar of American democracy? That's what he was doing, and that's why he cannot be our president. He can't. And then the third debate moment came shortly after that. And it's sort of related to this one about our democratic institutions. The candidates were asked about the situation with Russia and the fact that the FBI and the Director of National Intelligence has concluded that the Russian government is trying to engage in activity to influence and destabilize an American election. Never happened in my lifetime. I'm not sure there's really a precedent for it ever happening. But this is rock solid evidence. I'm on the Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committee. I get briefings. You get a briefing if you're a presidential candidate. Donald Trump's gotten the briefing. But he was challenged by Chris Wallace of Fox News about this. Donald Trump said, we have no evidence of that. We have no evidence Russia's involved. There's no evidence. Well, he's been briefed by our top generals and intel officials. There's no evidence of this. Why is he being Vladimir Putin's defense lawyer when he's standing on a stage in a debate? And connected to my other thought, wait a minute, you will not defend America's democratic traditions of free elections, but you refuse to condemn the activities of another nation that's trying to subvert our democratic election? There is something very, very funny with that. There's something suspicious with that. If Donald Trump gave us his tax returns, we might know more about where his business dealings are. We might know more about business dealings in Russia or with other nations. So the debate demonstrated Hillary's capacity and leadership, and that she'll be a great president. I think the debate gave America a lot of evidence as to why Donald Trump's not the guy. Donald Trump was doing an event in Washington today. I'm going to move to the issues in a sec, but I just couldn't help. But notice, he was opening his new hotel, the grand opening of his new hotel in Washington. Now, it's a grand opening, although he's already in a fight with the city about the property tax bill. He thinks that he's being taxed unfairly. But I can tell you this. There is one address on Pennsylvania Avenue that Donald Trump will be able to stay in, but it's not 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. His hotel is at about 1300 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's going to be the only building with a Trump in it in Washington on Pennsylvania Avenue after this election is over. Issues. Elections are about issues, but before you get to the issues, sometimes we as candidates, I'm guilty of this, I can talk about issues like 4 or 5 things like it's a laundry list or something. It's not a laundry list. The issues are important, but what are our motivations? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? That's as important as the issues, and it actually then kind of explains why you choose the issues that you choose. Hillary has this motivation that I've described to you of empowering families and kids. My motivation really was with great Jesuit educators and my time in Honduras and my 17 years work as a civil rights lawyer in Richmond. That started me on the path into local, state, and federal office that I've been on since 1994. I'll tell you a story about Hillary and the way she views the job of president and what she would say success looks like. She called me to offer me a spot on the ticket. It was Friday, July 22 at 7:32 p.m. Not that it was memorable. I get a lot of calls like that. I just can't keep them all straight. Can't keep them all straight. And she said, hey, listen, I want you to join me on the ticket. I started to say yes. She goes, wait a minute, let me tell you why first. I guess I was too eager. I wasn't being cool. Better consider this. She said, and this is a really cool thing, it shows you the way her mind works. She says, you've done a lot of stuff. You've been a missionary, you've been a civil rights lawyer, you've been at local, state, and federal level. I want to tell you the way I want our administration to go. I don't want it to be measured by a bill, by a headline, by a soundbite. I want it to be measured by, is a classroom a little bit better learning environment for a teacher or a student? Is a business able to hire a few more people? Can a worker get a few more skills? Can a family better afford college? Or can somebody get health care a little bit easier? I want it to be defined by like practical difference in people's lives. And you've done a lot of different stuff. So I think you can help us make sure we use the right yardstick to measure whether or not we're successful. That tells you who Hillary is. It's about people. It's about making a difference in people's lives. So what are the issues that we're going to focus on most? The biggest issue is an economy that works for everybody and not just a few. This is the big one. This is going to be the big one of the first term, and anybody Hillary appoints to any position is going to own part of this. And I hope to do some work on this as vice president with mayors and governors who have to make things work and the economies grow in their communities. We have an economy now that, thank goodness, after a free fall that President Obama inherited, and now we've created 15 million private sector jobs coming out of that collapse, and cut the unemployment rate in half, and 401ks are worth something again, and the biggest number of people jumped out of poverty to the middle class between 2014 and 2015, 3.5 million people in any year that it's been recorded. And President Obama has had to do that with zero help from the GOP. He's been able to use one arm, but one arm was just hanging limp at his side, not willing to help out while he was doing this. So he should get more credit than he does. But if he was here, but if President Obama was here, I'll tell you what he would say. He would say, yeah, we have done some good things. I feel proud of what we've been able to do, but there's more to do. Because here's the problem with the economy right now. GDP is growing, that's great. Unemployment rate's coming down, fine. But there are too many people in this country who still don't see a ladder that they can climb to be successful. There's just too many. You might live in a central city, or you might live in an isolated pocket of rural Pennsylvania, rural Virginia, other states. You might live in Indian country, you might live in coal country, Appalachian, Pennsylvania, or Southwest Virginia. And either because of the zip code where you live, or maybe because of the industry you were trained up in, you don't see, here's my path to success. Now, if there's a ladder, people will decide whether to climb it or not, or how fast to climb it. Initiative is always key, but people have to see the ladder. People have to see the path. And there's too many parts of this country where people don't. And so this is the first test of our administration, an economy that works for everybody. And we're going to do 4 basic things. We're going to invest heavily in infrastructure, research, and manufacturing. Make the investments in the clean energy economy of tomorrow. Road, rail, bridges, broadband. When you make investments like that, you hire people right away to build them. But then you live off the investment for 40 or 50 years. It's a double win. That's point 1. Point 2, really focus on skills and education. So from broader pre-K education to celebrating great teachers, you train a lot of great educators here at Mulenberg, to affordable college, and I'm going to get to that one in a second. Talk about it a little. I see Student Loan University here. I'm going to address him specifically in a second. And also skills that aren't just college skills, career and technical education. We've got great unions that have done apprenticeship programs forever, but they don't get the attention they deserve. And we got all kinds of people, all kinds of jobs needing career and technical skills that are going unfilled. My dad was a welder. We have to bring welders into the country on foreign specialty visas now because we're not training enough welders when it's a well-paying job of artistry and skill. So that's point 2. Make the investments, invest in the workers. Point 3, fairness in wages. Raise the minimum wage so you're not below the poverty level. We have a minimum wage in this country that hasn't been changed for years. If you work full-time for minimum wage and you have a dependent, you'll be below the poverty level. Now, what does that say? See, we tell our kids, parents, I got 3 kids in the 20s, one of the things we say, the key to it is hard work. You got to work hard. But if that's what we're saying. But if our policy is, yeah, but the minimum wage is set at a below poverty level, we don't really mean what we say. We don't really mean what we say. Because if we really valued work, and if we really thought it was important, and we really meant what we said, and we told people to work, we would have policies that would treat work as dignified, and that would confer with work some wage that you could live on, and not be in poverty. It just seems so straightforward, and women ought to get paid the same for men.